Operation Musketoon was a Norwegian Anglo raid that took place in September of 1942. It was 12 ranks, 10 ranks from No. 2 Commando and 2 ranks from the Norwegian Independent Commando. And their mission was to destroy the Glomfjord power plant, which was at the head of this fjord, and that Glomfjord power plant was powering an aluminium factory that was powering, obviously, the German war effort. On the 11th of September 1942, the French submarine Junon set off from Orkney with the Commando teams embarked on board. And their initial plan was to cross North Sea into northern Norway, drive down Glomfjord with the submarine, deploy 2 inflatable craft with the Commando teams on board who would row in and basically destroy the power plant using explosives and thus shutting down the aluminium production and escape over to Sweden. However, several days into the crossing, it was deemed that the German fortifications in Glomfjord were far too dangerous and therefore too risky to actually take the submarine down there. So the French submarine captain and Captain Graham Black, who was the officer in charge of the Commando team, decided to go down Bjerringsfjord. And this is the fjord that we're at now. The problem that this gave them was twofold. The first one was navigational issues, very fact that they didn't have charts for this fjord and so they were basically sailing in blind. The second point was that when they actually got to shore from this point, they had to cross the formidable Svardsen Glacier, which is to my rear, and actually cross that in order to get to their target.
So the guys from No. 2 Commando and SOE landed in a small rubber boat on the shoreline. They then traversed the length of the river that runs behind me, set up a base camp about 200 metres to the left there before then traversing over the glacier.
The second day, the Commandos, having bivvied up right at the bottom of the fjord, made their way along the stream through the dense woodland and came here to this location. There's natural shelter in the form of this big boulder, and they stayed here out of sight, out of sound from any of the German patrols one night before heading their way up and over the pass.
Once they left the second night and the bivvy further down the valley behind us, they would have come across this steep terrain. September would have been similar to this, but they'd have done all their training in Atnacarry in Scotland, probably in the winter, so they'd be more than comfortable in this terrain. However, they would have had to avoid any snow that was around at that time because of the detection. Need to keep themselves concealed. The last thing they want is footprints in the snow. They'd also been carrying fairly big packs with explosives, detonators, their own personal weapons, ammunition and radio equipment. They'd have just gone off basic maps and probably some local knowledge from the Norwegian resistance.
So having climbed up that fairly steep rock face, Commandos found themselves on this plateau. They had 3 days as planned to cross this plateau over towards the power plant. I think it was on the first day one of the Commandos fell down through the ice into freezing water. They had a further 2 days up here, went over towards the power plant to recce how they were going to make their attack. They actually encountered a German patrol, so were forced to wait up here for a 4th night before the coast was clear, and by that point they're at the end of their rations as it was, so they had to make their way down into the power plant to carry out their attack.
After the walk up the glacier and before the operation down in Glomfjord, 12 Commandos bivvied up under this rock for 2 nights, making their final preparations before they went down the hill and actually conducted the raid on the hydroelectric power station.
Having made a daring insertion into northern Norway and evading German patrols up on the glacier, it was this point at which the Commando teams and the SOE operatives could finally get eyes on the power plant, hatch their final plan on how they were going to attack it, how they were going to destroy it, and also how they were going to escape over to Sweden once that attack was complete.
This is the power plant, this is the objective, this is the target. The purpose of this raid, as we know, is this produced the majority of the aluminium used by the Luftwaffe during World War II. So destroying this really impeded the capability of the Luftwaffe, which had a huge strategic impact for the Allies during World War II. Here's the monument that stands today to the guys who carried out this operation, the 12 guys, of which 1 was killed during the operation, 7 were executed following their capture after the operation, and only 4 of them managed to escape.
So once they set their explosives at the power plant, they then originally the plan was to come up this river that you can see to my left, handrail in the side of it till they get to this bridge, which has essentially been here for over 100 years. They missed this spot completely and went the other side of the ridge line,
and then continued up, but they thought they might be able to come down, and as you can see, clearly impossible due to the steepness of the terrain. What they're aiming to get is across this bridge and up over a staircase up there. Because they went up this side of the mountain, they were then committed to go up and around the fjord.
Rapidly pursued by the Germans, surrounded at the top of the fjord and captured, those ranks of Operation Musketoon who were taken were the first victims of the Commando order. Despite their sacrifice, Operation Musketoon was a resounding success for the Allied war efforts.